loans, give more returns, get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LMDtv Finance.
The key to quality and efficiency. Be a jewel. Professionalism is the jewel in the corporate crown.
Refresh Sri Lanka for a civic-minded society in association with 99X. LMD, the voice of business.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. Tonight on the forum, we're zooming in on the latest developments in the IT sector. And with us, we have the managing partner of KPMG in Sri Lanka, Priyanka Jayatilake. It's very nice to have you on the show, Priyanka.
It's a pleasure for me to be there.
When talking about IT and Sri Lanka, what is your assessment of the local IT landscape as of today?
It is a bit difficult to figure out, just to give saying they are good or bad, but I think in generally, if you have to go into specific areas like broadly, if you have to look at landscape, it be infrastructure, the system development side of it, then the operations of it, and maybe the most important factor is the human resource part of it, and the education, IT education we have in Sri Lanka. I think all in all, we are reasonably doing well. But I think we have done much better compared with the exposure we had over 35 to 40 years. And also compared with some of these Asia Pacific and even some of these South Asian countries where their progress, if you look at their progress, I think we are lagging behind. But I think some sectors we have done relatively well, and I think we would compete with even some of the developed countries. For example, maybe the banking and finance sector, we've done quite well. Maybe telecom sector, we've done quite well. Likewise, there may be a few other areas, but particularly the government sector is lagging behind. And that's where I think as a country, we need to invest a bit and take it seriously, particularly the government services, which provides mainly the infrastructure for the economy. Need to be seriously taken care of.
We recently heard from FITIS, the Federation of Information Technology Industry in Sri Lanka, that the local ICT sector has a very ambitious plan to have a $3 billion industry by 2024 through export revenue, and has also projected to contribute $15 billion to the digital economy by 2030. Now, what are your thoughts on these forecasts?
It looks on figures, it looks nice. But I think I don't know on what basis these have been determined. Obviously, I believe it is the gross revenue coming to the country or what is recorded here, but not the retention. But still for all, I think in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had about 1.2 billion revenue coming from ITC sector, export revenue. I think anything is possible. I mean, I wouldn't want to comment on 2024, but at least by 2030, anything is possible. Even could go beyond 30 million, provided we get our acts together. Especially if you look at the, obviously we need foreign investment coming to the country to boost this sector. I mean, if you look at even right now, we have a amount of companies where foreign owned. It is not fully Sri Lankan owned, and where we provide services outside the country, and some of the BPOs are set here, which also generate substantial income out of this. So, where I think the foreign investment is very relevant, I think, particularly looking at the global players, maybe to shift their BPOs, IT BPOs to Sri Lanka, And there again, we need to have a conducive climate for that, environment for that. Then also, what is important is the attraction for anybody to come here, or for us to retain people. I think retention is very important. Our high skill IT professionals are migrating or moving out of Sri Lanka. So that is the issue right now we are facing. So, or faced with. So I think we need to create more and more incentives. If you look at in the short term, there are many opportunities which we have not taken advantage of it. Like if you take, for example, digital nomads, you get maybe a couple of millions of digital nomads operating all over the world in the form of maybe freelance, or they are subcontract to some of the bigger entities. And Sri Lanka hasn't attracted some of these. I mean, for example, if you look at some of the in Asian countries, you take Thailand, they have about 125,000 digital nomads operating from Thailand, and maybe at least 30-40% earn more than $100,000 a year. That's substantial income. If you can attract these people, even 50% of that, maybe or even 50,000, at least 50,000 people, roughly, if we have to give some figures, we could be able to generate about $5 billion for a year. And assuming they spend 50% of their revenue here, right? Some of them are considered high spenders. 50% of their revenue here in the form of consumption or investment, we could get at least $2.5 billion a year. That will boost many sectors economically, maybe the leisure sector, the hotels, other infrastructure, many things. I mean, these are things we need to encourage. So obviously there has to be some attraction for these guys to come to Sri Lanka, as similar to going to Thailand. Obviously, you also need to have incentives so that they don't pay tax. That will be attraction here. You also will help to boost our foreign currency reserves and things like that, which is badly needed these days, right? So, and also it will help to encourage also Sri Lankans to also be getting to a similar operation. And also when more and more digital nomads operate from Sri Lanka, that also gives a message to the rest of the world that this is the right destination for them to operate, not just only, obviously we have reasonable infrastructure facilities in terms of internet facilities, communication, and also maybe transport, the leisure facilities. So considering all that, but for them, real attraction is going to be that they need to, should not pay tax. So I think right now, professionals engaged in Sri Lanka, they earn foreign currency, they don't pay taxes, or it is exempted. So similarly, they also should be given, and they also should be given long-term visas. There should be a separate visa category to attract these people. That is where I think what is required for this country. So maybe a 2-year visa would help them to come here, make their investments, settle down, and increase their spending.
And what would you say is your assessment if you look at the available talent in ICT today in Sri Lanka, and of course other digital enabled sectors also? What exactly are our strengths and what are our areas for improvement?
I think, this is a people-based industry. Certainly, we have to upskill our capability. I mean, knowledge of people, the way they do business, not just only the technical aspect of it, even the soft skills part of it, the attitude, mindset, and all that. So all that will put together will attract opportunities for them. So I think in that context, we need to. Our education is not bad, but still we need to improve. Maybe giving more and more opportunities in this sector is very critical. Giving priority to ICT sector. Once upon a time, it was, English was considered an important area. But I think similarly, ICT is now, today's context is very important. So that's where I think we need to encourage people to get into ICT even at the early stage of education, maybe O levels, make it ICT a compulsory subject, and then at the advanced level to keep it as optional subject. And also maybe for university degrees, whether you are into ICT or not, I think should be a compulsory subject.
So you're saying that education is definitely the key that we have to
So that is the main attraction. I mean, if you don't have people, there's no need for somebody to come here. It's the people-related industry. I think we have, in the past, we have done well, but we have to make good for people migrating and for the attrition. We have to produce more and more people, and also those has to be ideally to spend or have opportunities for high value train people on high value added operations in ICT, like for example, maybe the AI, machine learning, maybe the blockchain, maybe the data sciences, things like that. No, those are the trends elsewhere in the world. So I think if we train people and maybe educate and get them basic training, that would help us to get to the next stage.
How critical is Sri Lanka's digital economy to the country's economic and social transformation?
No, certainly ICT is going to be a very important factor, not only here, all over the world. You have seen, I mean, maybe starting from 80s, we had basic automation and moving. Now I think technology can replace people, can do things better. So certainly it will have a positive factor. I mean, obviously with technology coming in, you increase your productivity, efficiency, maybe you reduce your cost of transactions, many things like that. Then maybe the accuracy of information, the integrity of information, many things. So there are pros and cons when you have all those. There's also a negative aspect of it, the risk you face, like cybersecurity, all that. So you need to consider all that. I mean, there's nothing called risk-free. Higher the risk you take, obviously your returns also going to be high.
It's time to take a short break. When we return, we'll resume our conversation on the IT sector.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging media.
You're mobile, and so are we.
Gets me going.
Grab the Lite 87 app at the Apple App Store or Google Play now.
87.8 and 87.6 island-wide. Lite 87.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking to the managing partner of KPMG in Sri Lanka, Priyanka Jayatilake. And if we look at the last 12 months in the country, what would you say are the latest developments in IT today in Sri Lanka? And what potential do they hold to really add value to the economy?
I mean, if you look at, obviously with the internet and maybe the looking at the development happening rest of the world, obviously we are also in same pace, but maybe there are many companies here develop systems for overseas markets. So they are in par with whatever systems run elsewhere. But I think as a country, I mean, we are a bit late, but I think some initiatives have been taken, like, for example, particularly the government services, creating more and more single windows, and maybe many institutions have been, they are in the process of, we are not completed, but there are also some institutions where, for example, register of companies fully automated. You don't have to go there. It's a fully paperless operation. So obviously, those will really add value to our whole operation. Anybody can do the registration from anywhere in the world, not just only in Sri Lanka. They don't have to physically visit. As a result, as I said earlier, the productivity is going to go high. I mean, really high. And also maybe the accuracy of information, the integrity, the information, type of information you need for decision making, all that can make efficient. Then also there are sectors like you take banking and finance. Obviously, there is environmental development happening. There you get system happening where you do all the utility payments. You can do it over the bank rather than going to visiting a utility company to pay your bills. Then maybe the taxes can be paid like that. Maybe your EPF, ETF can be paid for corporates. So mainly you reduce your cash. I mean, you get into a cashless society. That again will improve, particularly for government and private sector. They can minimize their revenue leakage as a result of going cashless. Money is collected upfront, and receipts are provided. So there are many things like that happening. So all that will add to the efficiency, the contribution. You make more revenue. You also, for the customer's point of view, you reduce the overall cost of a transaction. As a result of that, if you have to physically go and attend to some service, obviously there's a time cost and there's a transport cost involved, apart from other add-ons. But from home or wherever you are, anywhere in the world, you can do those transactions with minimal cost. So these are things that would really add value. I mean, if you take also telco industry, we are fairly incompatible with some of the developed countries. We are also about to launch the 5G network, but I think maybe it's on a pilot run at this moment. Maybe get into commercial aspect of it, I think probably deferred because of the country situation currently we are facing. So, but at least we are on the right path on those.
And what about security in this digital progression that we're seeing in Sri Lanka? How do you assess the advancement of cybersecurity in our country?
If you look at the positive side of it, I mean, initially the priority is to get the functionality up and running, and people wait for security breaches to enter the security aspect of it. But I think now many organizations are seriously looking at the total solution, and also security forms the integral part of the solution. In the past, it was not an integral part of the solution. It mainly looking at functionality, maybe at times performance and other data factors, UI, UX, and things like that. But now security is a key factor in the total solution. So I think that is a positive sign. And also some of the regulator, particularly in the banking and finance sector, the central bank has issued many regulations related to security. I mean, it is mandated that all the banks and financial institutions baseline their security standards and frameworks in line with the ISO 27001. So that's a good sign. And also they go to the extent of getting the institutions mobile and web-based application tested and also infrastructure tested on an annual basis. That is a good sign, because that will hopefully, I think, reduce the risk to a fair extent, but still anything can happen in the security space. So there's something called a continuous monitoring and maybe mitigating. So that has to come in if you have to minimize. I'm not saying that we can eliminate the security threats and risk, because as people get into more and more digital transactions, obviously there could be more and more white collar crimes happening. So I think Sri Lanka as a nation done well, but many things you need to be at it all the time.
Exactly. It can't just be an ad hoc thing.
Yeah, also from a government point of view, they have set up institution called Sri Lanka CERT to manage the cyber aspect of it. And their main mandate is to provide guidance and maybe policy framework and maybe monitoring to some extent of state institutions. It could be government departments, government authorities, and maybe also some of these SOEs, state enterprises like banks and other institutions owned by the government. So I think that's their mandate, but I think they are again, they need to be supported to move forward. I mean, being a government institution, they have many limitations. But I think what have been initiated so far is good, but then long way to go, get to where we ideal situation.
My next question for you is focused on Refresh Sri Lanka, LMD's campaign to create a more civic-minded society in Sri Lanka. So when you look at the digitalization drive of the country, what would be your focus areas to really ensure that civic-mindedness is always in the agenda?
I think you are right. I mean, that is the reason for people to migrate. Attrition is mainly on that. But I think certainly there should be governance. Equal rights has to be there established. I think we have all that on paper. I think that need to be practiced. Then, I mean, there are many things. I mean, if somebody wants, I mean, people would say that, okay, professionals should be exempted from tax. I don't believe in that, but everybody has to pay tax. But it will be reasonable tax rate. I think we are also in the process of widening the tax net. That is a good move by the government. But I think everybody should be pay something reasonable. So these are things I think people, and also the awareness. Sometimes there's a big communication gap. I think government doesn't communicate what they intend to do, and probably people decide things based on their own thinking. But that awareness is very important also to compare what is available elsewhere, and also people to be like-minded, maybe also to exchange ideas. They probably need to get into more volunteer programs so that they can exchange. They also can contribute to society. I think what is important is, I think, to address this issue, it is a participation what is important, I think. There are many things, I mean, you need to look at. So why people migrate, sometimes they think rest of the world or other side is better than Sri Lanka. But I think also at the same time, when they go there, they find it, they are probably second-class citizens. I think that's where I think we need to create that difference. People here should be considered, or everybody as first-class citizens.
We're almost at the close of our conversation today. Any closing thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
I mean, in terms of ICT development, obviously government need to play a major role. There should be a focus strategy and action plan. Obviously, many government institutions have these, but they don't have money to implement. Right? I know the country situation is not that great, but then these should be priority sectors. We need to invest at any cost at this moment if you are to reap that benefit in a few years' time. So I think those plans has to be there. Then obviously it is not just only for the government sector, but also for the whole country, private and as well as government sector. They need to have a proper strategy, and also maybe prioritizing is one area of certain projects. Like, for example, we are very much behind in getting our national identity card digitalized. That should be a must if we are to look at the rest of the development, looking at the infrastructure. That I think need to be prioritized. Then also the cybersecurity aspect of it, I think there should be more importance to be given to cybersecurity. It should be part of national defense because as more and more technology is implemented or we go into more and more digitalization or transactions are automated, obviously white-collar crimes will also increase. So this should be an important agenda in our national security, and they need to work hand in hand. And also, I mean, obviously Sri Lanka is in the process of getting their data protection and privacy laws in place. We'll have the laws very soon. We'll have the law, but also at the same time, we have to strengthen institutions like police and the judiciary, because they have to prosecute and give judgments, punish the criminals. So all that has to happen. Otherwise, you can't curtail cybersecurity by just having security safeguards alone. And also, I think investment in ICT education is very important. I think it's a continuing thing. I think as a regulated education ministry or higher education ministry need to take it seriously, increase the capacity of graduates created every year, because I think for various things, and also the general awareness. I mean, every degree program also should have a ICT awareness program or a subject as ICT awareness, so that awareness is important, because there are two aspects of it. One is only the development or production of ICT. On the other side, the users also have to be equally trained. So I think that's part of infrastructure. I think that's very important from a point of view of ICT development in a country. All in all, I think whatever development that happens, end of the day, the productivity or the efficiency has to go up. The transaction costs have to come down. The information, integrity of information has to be there. And the availability, cyber security, all that has to be, has to be built in. So that's where I think we could say that we are ahead of others.
We've been talking to the managing partner of KPMG in Sri Lanka, Priyanka Jayatilake. It's been very nice having you on the show.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be there.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.